Oh, there you go. Yay! Oh, I gotta mute this. Oh. Alright, let me share the link.
Jack only said hello to his fellow men.
Oh yeah? Is he anti-women? Is he MGTOW?
He's MGTOW. Yeah, he's MGTOW. He said it's a beautiful day to go your own way.
MGTOW. I got somebody in the chat. Toasted Network. What's up, dude? That was quick. Let me share this link. Put it on Twitter. Playing and chatting. Oh, so yes. Yeah. Do you know AIU? Yes, I do know AIU.
AI who?
AI who? Yes, I know AIU. He is my friend. I said that like a robot. I don't know why that was funny. AIU is my friend. I want to chat about a couple things, but I don't know what. But I was thinking that video I showed you on Yang that Asian girl did, and I thought, I thought she did a really good job explaining things misconceptions that people have about the UBI and value-added tax.
Yeah, with someone else, because guess what?
You don't know shit. You still didn't watch it. Well, I'll tell you the misconception is that people think the value-added tax will be on everything, but it's not. It'll be on non-essential goods. So, like food, stuff like that is still gonna be regularly taxed like it is now.
Right.
Or not taxed, depending on the state, right? Here in Jersey, some foods we don't tax, some foods have half tax, like 3.5%. Instead of 7%, because our regular sales tax here is 7%. But some foods will be like 3.5%. Like, I mean, if you go to like Burger King or McDonald's, they're gonna charge you the 7%. That's not essential foods. But if you go to like a supermarket, a lot of it will be 3.5%, and some of it will be no tax.
Wait, so what do they half tax there? Like stuff from the deli, like pre-made stuff, or?
I think most foods would. Most low-income foods that you would think are like low-income foods, that's probably what they would charge 3.5%. Like most of the supermarket is 3.5%. Nothing's over 3.5% really, except for like non-food stuff like shampoo and stuff like that. But there's like a few things like baby formula and stuff like that though. Sometimes they won't have any tax on it. I know New York does it sometimes, like we're closed here too. Some of it we tax, some of it we don't tax as well. I know at my job we don't tax the clothes, but some places do tax it, and some places will do 0.5%, half. I guess it depends on the company. But I know New York sometimes they'll have like a week where they'll do no tax on certain items, like on clothes and food. I see commercials for that sometimes. Usually in the summer, you see a commercial for like a week that's like, hey, no taxes this week, come shopping. Which is cool.
Oh yeah, like the back to school stuff.
Yeah, they do stuff like that. Like clothing stores won't charge tax for a week, and food items and stuff like that. I guess it's nice to like have that alleviate a little bit the stuff. So at least even if just for 1 week. But the main thing she was doing about the video was she was talking about Bernie Sanders wants to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. So she was pitting that against Yang's UBI/VAT system. And so like she said, the one misconception, like I said, is that not all items will have a VAT tax, and not all items will have the same VAT tax either. Like say if you bought kind of like a cheaper car that's kind of a necessity, you might need that for work, they would charge you probably less of the VAT on that than a luxury car. So I think
Right.
the highest VAT taxes will be on luxury items, the lower ones will be on more essential items, and then the real necessities won't have any VAT tax at all. So that, like the whole point of UBI and even the 15 minimum wage, all that shit, is the whole point these people do with that is for low-income homes, right? So her point of comparing them is to show how UBI will be better or save more money for the low-income people, people who make lower wages. Because if you do the math, I think she did the math, and $15 an hour for a year of like regular work, 8 hours, 8 hours a day or whatever, 40 hours a week, would be $30,000 a year. And the way we have it now would be $18,000 a year. But $18,000 a year with the UBI, which is $1,000 a month, is an extra $12,000 added to that, which comes out to the same $30,000. So you might think it's the same, but it's not, because the UBI isn't taxed. Whereas, if you work $15 an hour and make $30,000 a year, that whole entire thing is taxed, that whole $30,000. But you're making $30,000 a year with the UBI, and you're only paying taxes for the $18,000 a year. So you end up making more money. And as you see, $18,000 a year is more than half of $30,000 a year. So regardless, you're making more money with UBI on a monthly basis than with $15 an hour. So it works a lot better. And yeah, I don't know if people realize that. That's a big thing that but there's a lot of misconceptions about it. But also today, Yang announced that he's at 2% finally. So he moved
nice.
1%. So that's good. Yeah, he's already getting up there. What's up, Blake? What's up, Anina?
Oh, Anina's?
Yeah, Anina's in the
chat. She's...
Well,
hey, Anina.
So we gotta push that Yang game. I mean, it's a good idea. I know a lot of people don't like it because they're like, oh, socialism, you're giving people money for free. But that's not the point of it. The point is really like a middle point of just alleviating some stress on people. We do have a large amount of people living below the poverty line. And it's, I know a lot of people like to lump stuff up and say, oh, they're all just lazy and this and that. And it's like, yeah, that's an impossibility. You can't just have all those people can't be lazy, right? It's got to be something else. I mean, some of them, I'm sure a large number of them, it is that they just don't want to work. But I'm sure there's many who do want to work and just can't, just can't make ends meet. And that $1,000 a month will definitely alleviate some trouble. At least help you handle car payments, or, if you have kids, it'll help you, maybe put away some money for college or whatever it is. You obviously don't have to spend it. You can spend it any way you want. It's an extra $12,000 a year. And on top of that, you can't survive off $12,000 a year. I remember trying that when I was like 19, 20 and trying to survive off $12,000 a year on minimum wage. I had to move back into my clothes and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be rough.
Yeah, it's very rough. Even me, who grew up poor and I'm very low maintenance, it was still really rough. So it's not like you're going to give people $1,000 a month and they're just going to decide not to work, because they're still going to have to work. Or at least the people who work now will still have to work. The people who aren't working are still not going to work, but at least we know their children won't suffer as much, right? Which I think is more important. Can't make children suffer because their parents don't want to work. At least the extra $1,000 might help those kids out. It's a middle point. You always have the people on the far left just want to give people shit for free, and then the people on the far right don't want to give people shit. So this is like a middle point where we just give them enough to help alleviate the problem a little bit, but not so much that they will be able to not work.
Yeah, I don't know what people are thinking when they think people are just gonna try and survive off the $1,000 a year.
Yeah, off $1,000 a month. Not to mention that a lot of these people below the poverty line have children, and there's no way you're raising kids on just $1,000 a month. That's not happening. But a lot of people too are single parents, and without education, and it's hard to get a high-paying job as a single parent or work full-time. You got to do part-time work. You can't afford full-time daycare, not to be around your kids for 8 hours a day and stuff like that. I don't know, when school's on, you might be able to use school as a daycare for those 8 hours, but in the summer you can't. So yeah, that alleviates that too. People will be able to work that part-time and still have an extra $1,000 to help with the kids.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember my mother, when she divorced my father, we had to move all the way to, South Florida, away from everyone we knew, just so she could find a decent job too.
Yeah, me and my mom were homeless for a while. My parents got divorced too. She had to figure shit out. I mean, if we had an extra $1,000 a month at that time, there's no way we would have been homeless,
Yeah.
But it was one of those situations where my mom wanted to leave at the moment. It's not like she could have stayed there with my dad until she found something, until she got settled. So it was like we just had to leave on the spot.
Yeah.
We didn't take anything with us. We just left. And but yeah, that would have helped us out a lot to have a couple of an extra $1,000 a month. I mean, we ended up with an apartment that was like $600 a month, so $1,000 a month would have helped us get that apartment way sooner.
Oh yeah.
We wouldn't have had to be homeless.
Yeah, but I will watch it. I'm just procrastinating.
But even when my parents were together, we were poor, and my mom started working when I was really young because they couldn't afford me and my brother on just my dad's job. My dad is old-fashioned. He's from Dominican Republic. He was born in the 40s, early 40s. So he's old-fashioned. He didn't really want my mom to work, but he wasn't making enough money to afford like where we were living and all this stuff. He had to get rid of his car too. Couldn't afford that, so my mom ended up starting to work when I was pretty young. I think I was like 7 or 8. And they would just leave, you're not supposed to leave kids that young at home alone, but they had no choice. So I was home alone.
Yeah.
So my brother was older, so he wanted to go hang out with his friends, so I was just home alone most of the time. But yeah, see, that wouldn't have been an issue with an extra $1,000. But yeah, it worked out regardless, but in the end, it just, like I said, it's mostly to alleviate a bit of a struggle, as opposed to just trying to give people shit. It's the way people do it. Just in a and that people think that, oh, who's going to pay for that? We're all going to pay for that with taxes. But it's not fully like that because, as I explained with the VAT, it's not on all items. And, it's mostly for luxury items. But
what's up, Darren?
But the big thing is that's going to be... Oh, what's up, Darren? The big thing is that's going to be charged on everyone, even corporations and, super rich people and businesses. So these corporations, when they buy materials, say like Amazon has an issue with, they do loopholes. They didn't pay taxes at all last year. They paid 0 taxes. So they find these loopholes and they get away with it. And the people who suffer is us. And,
insanity.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's going to be a thing that, like, they're going to have to pay the value-added tax for everything they purchase as well, as a corporation and separately and stuff. All the items they sell are going to have the VAT on them, and that's going to go right back to us. And we'll be paying, the people who make the least money will be paying the least amount of VAT, so it won't bother them as much. Or middle-class people aren't going to be paying as much either. They're just going to be paying for when they buy luxury items. So the people who are paying the most are people who buy, like, yachts and, sports cars, luxury cars, and shit like that. Those are the people paying the most. Like, people like me who don't make a lot of money, we're probably paying, like, cents. You know what I'm saying? Like a couple cents or a couple dollars a month, and then getting like $1,000.
God, that Amazon shit is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Amazon, I think Google too. I think Google, how huge is Google? They don't pay shit in taxes. Like, they should be. That's kind of what he's saying. He's like, America's doing so great with innovation, and we're so high up in technology and all these things, and the people aren't benefiting from it, just the corporations are. They're not paying taxes, so we're not benefiting from it at all, except for the point of us spending money on it and giving them money for these things. That's the only benefit we're getting from it. So at least this way, it's kind of like when you work for a business and they give you stock options, so you kind of own a part of the business. You know how some businesses
right.
That's kind of like that for America. Like, America's a business, and the UBI is kind of like us getting stock options towards America's how good America does with innovation and technology. That makes sense. The better the country does, the better we'll do it. You know, if we make innovations that make us tons of money, then maybe they'll give us more monthly on UBI. Like $1,000 is the minimum that he wants to do for now, and he'll probably, if he becomes president, he'll probably stay like that for a while. But like I said, if huge innovations come and you have companies making so much money off our country, then we'll benefit more from that. Sounds about right to me. I don't know why people are so weird about that. This is something that every time Yang gets on something to debate or talk about stuff, he only gets a few minutes to explain it. And needs more than a few minutes. The times you get the best out of him, and he seems to get more people to like him and support him is when he has these long interviews that are like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I think he went on Joe Rogan and did like 2 hours on there. And that's one that people point out to other people to watch.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, Dave Rubin's an idiot, but he did really good on that Dave Rubin. He got like 2 hours on it too. I think it was an hour and a half or something. And he explained a lot of things as well.
I know it was probably a shorter one, but how did he do on The View?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw clips of it, but he did pretty good. But yeah, some of these women on The View, are stupid. Joy Behar is fucking retarded. I can't stand her. And yeah, she says a lot of dumb stuff and tries to crack jokes that aren't funny. But Meghan McCain's there, so she's Republican, but she says she has a friend who's Yang Gang, so she was kind of like throwing softballs at him, but then also like criticizing it as well. So it was like, it wasn't too bad. Like, it was kind of good that she had the other perspective, so you could see him, so he can go against that. But they didn't have enough time. I would like if he can get her to like interview him for longer, because he's good at explaining what he wants to do. So anybody who's trying to criticize him or give a separate talking point, you can argue that.
Oh my god, I see you, Marino. Marino thinks that's funny.
Marino, what's up, Chris? It's time for the Alphany Show.
God.
But yeah, I'm glad he's up to 2%. That's good. He's tied with Beto O'Rourke. He's at 2% too. So he needs, I think it's 4% you need to make it to the primaries. So 2 more %. But it seems like Tristan's such a nerd. That's why I like him. He's our nerd for this reason. He did like the mathematics on how long it takes people to get into Yang after hearing about him.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it was like, I think it was like a month and a half or 3 months or something like that. So he was trying to do a projection of how long it would take for Yang to get to like a certain percentage, and he did the math for it. I think it did go over 4% after by the primaries. And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, hopefully that's right. So I think a big issue of it is people just don't get what he's talking about when he says UBI. All they're hearing is a universal basic income. Oh, we're just giving people money for free. People don't understand like what's it all about. And then he wants to, and then you hear, oh, he wants to pay for it with an added sales tax, so we're all going to be paying more money. And this and that. That's why I say that he needs more time to explain stuff. These little 2-minute interviews aren't going to do it.
And Tristan would be the perfect person to talk about.
I said what? Yang's got his vote. Good. Yeah, we're trying, man. The way I see it is that there's a good chance he's not going to make it this time. But I think that if we try to push for him as much as we can and get people to know who he is, and at least get him to a good percentage, that for the next time, for the next elections, he's going to be more well-known and more people will be into him. I just hope that if he doesn't make it to the primaries on this election, you are kicking some noob ass. Yeah, what's funny is I'm like talking and kind of on autopilot. I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing in the game, and I'm still waiting. That's how much I've been practicing with Incineroar lately. I've just got him on autopilot now. But
Oh, I forgot you were playing a game.
too, I wasn't even telling you. I'm not even paying attention to me playing. I'm more talking and shit. Which is what I wanted to do. I just wanted the game to be like background stuff. You know? But yeah, like for the next time, at least if he's known very well, I'm hoping that he doesn't get discouraged if he doesn't make it in this one, and he still wants to keep going, because then he has 4 years to push it, you know, to keep pushing himself and getting himself out in the spotlight, talking to people, and getting himself known. It's like Tristan said, it takes people a while to understand what he's talking about and be into it. And, you know, like Tristan's the first person I know who started talking about Yang Gang and pushing him. And at first, I remember me and Devin were both like laughing at him, like, "Who the fuck is this Yang? This and that." It was way too early for us to even care about who's running. You know what I'm saying? And who's trying to go in there.
Yeah.
So we didn't even care. And then we started. Devin did a video, and we were looking into all the people running. And, you know, a lot of them were going for reparations, and, you know, minimum wage rise, and all this stuff that we were like, you know. Like, and then on top of that, a lot of identity politics, and we're like, oh man, Democrats are still going in the direction that, that people don't want. You know what I'm saying? That made them lose last time and shit. And then we heard Andrew Yang, and when they ask him about identity politics, the first thing he says is he doesn't. You know, he's not an idiot. You can't just downright say, I don't care about identity politics, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna have people shitting on you. So he does the smart thing and he says, I don't think it's a good way to run an election. You shouldn't run on identity politics, which is a smart move. He's not straight up saying he's against it, but he's not saying he wants to use it. So it's a smart
Yeah,
move.
he's just sliding in there a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta eat it a little bit to let the people who are towards identity politics not be too against you. The people who are against it will hear it. Oh, he's not going to use identity politics also. So it works either way. He doesn't want to get rid of people, you know, push people away, but he doesn't want people to, necessarily leave because of that. But yeah, he's not into it. You can tell he's not into it. It's a dumb way to go. He's very internet culture savvy, and he knows that that's a big thing on the internet, you know, the identity politics stuff. It's very polarizing. He doesn't want to be influenced. Which, the first time I heard him say it was at the election. He's been using it more now. Is that at the end of the the end of the debates last time he said, I'm not. It's not right. It's not left. It's forward. You know, like, so he's basically saying, like, let's stop this. Let's stop this left-right bullshit and let's just move forward. You know, because it's true that every election, I feel like politics hasn't changed much in my lifetime, from like Reagan being president to now. It's like the same shit that keeps going on, especially Democrats. It's all climate change, immigration, you know, it's, you know, we're just going over the same shit over and over again, and yet solving no problems. So at least we have a candidate now who says, look, these are old problems, but I got new solutions for them, and then on top of that, we're not looking at these new problems that are popping up in our society for the future, like automation and shit that's going to displace a lot of workers. And we're not preparing for it. It's something that needs to be prepared for. So he thinks that at least this $1,000 a month will alleviate that when we have millions of truck drivers that are going to be out of work with no any other skill or anything. They're going to need to go to trade school, figure out another skill that they can use to get a job. This $1,000 a month will help them. If not, we're just going to have a whole bunch of unemployed people.
Yeah.
Without knowing what to do, can't afford school or anything.
It doesn't. If it's good as it doesn't seem like he's the type to be easily discouraged. I mean, look at after he did the Democratic debates, I thought he would be a little downtrodden. And he was. What did he tweet? He tweeted something funny. I don't remember what it was. At the moment.
I remember after the first election that these guys speak in Spanish, he just tweeted that his Spanish isn't very good. He was like, oh damn, my Spanish isn't very good. Like, fuck, these guys are speaking Spanish now. But no, he tweeted that he was already accepted for the 3rd and 4th debates, so he wasn't too worried about this one because it's just the first debate. So he wasn't discouraged at all by this one. But he did say that they muted his mic. He actually handled that really well on the View too, because they asked him, they were like, oh, we heard you were accusing NBC of cutting your mic, and I think that Marianne lady had her mic cut as well. But he said he wasn't sure because he hasn't talked to her after that, but he heard the same thing. But yeah, he handled that really well, and he didn't like outright say that they cut his mic. You know, he didn't want to accuse them of that, you know, and just outright say it on national television, but he did, you know, put it into certain words, and then he just straight went to, oh, I'm not worried about that because I'm, you know, I've got these other debates to go to. They're going to have different moderators, and I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna try to talk more and get a bit more.
Yeah, he's been to something positive right away.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of looking at what was going on in the past, you know, he's just like, I'm gonna move forward. You know, like we're gonna do better later. Don't worry about it. This is nothing. This is just the first debates, which is true. And even that got him after the first debates. He got, I think he got like 15,000 new followers on Twitter just on by the next day.
Nice.
Yeah, so it did raise his awareness. You know, people saw that little bit he got to talk. I think it was 3 minutes altogether he got of talking time. But people saw that those 3 minutes and were interested enough to look up his Twitter and follow him. At least 15,000 people were. It was a good amount. I'm pretty sure that's more than anyone else. And he was trending on Twitter that day. Hashtag Let Yang Speak was the #1 trending. But this is how much the media doesn't like him. I think it was NBC who did the debates to put out a graph on Twitter, you know, like who was trending on Twitter, which candidates were. And they didn't even put Yang in it. Yang was the #1 trending person from those debates, and they didn't even put him on the list. He should have been #1 instead. They didn't put him in there at all. They put Biden as #1. It's like, that's bullshit. I looked at Twitter the next day, and it was, you know, it said, Let Yang Speak was the #1 trending thing. That's going to be one of his big hurdles. Is getting past the media. Fuck the media. Gotta go around them. Which is why I think it's good that he's internet savvy. Because that's going to help him a lot with getting notoriety. Because the internet is destroying old media.
Yeah, but if I think about it, even like my friends who aren't, you know, that into politics, a lot of them hadn't heard of Yang at all. And even if they saw him on a debate, they're still kind of like, I don't really know what he's about.
Yeah,
other
that's
than
why I say he's doing a good job getting exposure, but yeah, he's got to keep going. Because he reaches a few people every time he appears on something. He just got to keep doing it. Fuck. Oh, I got him. Shit, I thought I was gonna miss. I've been missing like crazy with this. Beam! So, you know, they opened up a gaming competition place, like arena, by my house, like a block from my house. I haven't looked into it. It's called, I think they called it hybrid gaming or something. So I should look it up and see if they have Smash Brothers competitions. I'm getting really good at this character. I've got a good card. I wonder if I should get into some competitions, maybe win some stuff.
So what is it? It's just like, it's a place that you go.
Yeah, I guess they hold competitions there. It's esports. It says hybrid esports or something. I don't know. I don't know if they televise it or anything. But it's like I see it every day on the way to work, and I'm like, I always think like, oh, I gotta look into that, and I always forget by the time I get home. But I should look into it. I wonder if they even do Smash Brothers. I can get in there. If not, maybe I can talk to them to get more. Because the Nintendo Switch is kicking ass right now. I think it's the most sold system at the moment.
I know, you're making me want one.
Yeah. Yeah, next year for Animal Crossing. Oh, they're coming out with a light version. They've shown it. It's been all over Twitter. Switch Lite. They're like smaller. But they're only handheld. You can't hook them up to it. But if you wanted us, you know, if you only wanted one for portable and for a cheaper price, the regular ones. I think they're talking about the extra $1,000. That'd be good for businesses as well. If you want to sell things, because everybody has an extra $1,000 to buy stuff too. That would help businesses as well. The other thing that girl brought up about the difference between the two politicians was $15 an hour minimum wage is going to be horrible for small businesses. It's one thing for Walmart or big corporations like Google and Amazon to pay their employees $15 an hour, but it's another thing for like somebody that owns a small cafe in the corner, you know, like, and then they can't hire anybody because they can't afford to pay people $15 an hour right after that.
Right.
So that will help out. And then in the end, the businesses will be getting, you know, people, not only will people have an extra $1,000 a month to spend on those little small businesses, but those small businesses themselves will get $1,000 at the owners, which will help them open and get things going soon.
It would definitely be interesting to see how it ended up playing out.
Yeah.
In any case. How many of the pieces fell the right spaces?
I kind of can't see how it could go wrong. Like, what? I would like to hear people tell me what could go wrong with it, because I can't really think of anything that it could be improbable. I could see, like, people don't like welfare. I understand that, but welfare is only given to specific people. But if everybody's getting the same amount, what can go wrong with that? There's really nothing. I can't see anything wrong with that. Eventually, I think he said he wants it to phase out welfare, because you don't really need welfare for $1,000 a month.
Right.
At the first, he says he doesn't want to get rid of it right in one shot, so it'll be like you can take your choice between welfare or the UBI. Or if you're only getting like say $600 a month from welfare, then they'll give you the extra $400 from UBI instead of giving the whole $1,000. Or you could just choose to take the $1,000 from UBI, whichever way you want. But if you're making more than $1,000 off welfare, then you just use that. That doesn't make sense. But eventually, you would want it to phase out welfare. You wouldn't need a welfare system anymore. We can close welfare offices, which is an extra expense that we don't need. You gotta pay. The government's gotta pay employees for that and stuff. All those jobs, and move them over to the UBI jobs. Damn, I am kicking ass, and I'm barely paying attention. It's crazy. That's how much I've been playing with this character and getting used to it. I just one day decided, I'm going to start using this character. He seems kind of cool. It's worked out. At first I sucked with him because he's very slow, and it's hard to get him back on the stage once you've been knocked out of the stage to like survive, but not like other characters. Some characters can float and some kind of can hover or kind of fly. And he's just really heavy and falls real quick and doesn't travel very far. So. But if you're careful enough, you don't get hit much or too hard. You can kick ass with him because he's really strong. Just gotta play a certain way. I showed you the video earlier of that short guy.
Oh my!
How funny was that? There was another video. Now I'm thinking he's doing it on purpose, because I saw somebody posted in one of the replies for those videos another video he did where he's yelling at Indian guys in 7-Eleven. Yeah, and the guy's kind of the clerk at 7-Eleven's kind of like smiling the whole time and not saying much, and he was like, "Oh, you asked me how tall I was, right? You think that's normal? You can ask me how tall I am?" And the guy's just like kind of smiling, almost laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, I think he's just doing this on purpose." Like he saw how much notoriety he got from that one video, so now he's trying to do more.
Oh, but I wonder if the first video was the genuine though, where he actually started like freaking out.
Yeah, I think that one was. Well, that guy. Well, if it wasn't genuine on his part, he didn't tell other people, right? Because that guy literally slammed him. I don't think that was fake. I don't think that guy slammed him was fake. So. He might have been doing it for notoriety, willing to take a hit, and be like, well, fuck it, people attack me. But I'm starting to think that. It was a bit extreme to think this way like that. I'm like, dude, this guy, if that's real, that guy has a serious inferiority complex for being short. But he says he's 4'11". I mean, I have a friend who's 4'11". He's kind of got like a bit of a Napoleon complex. He's a bit of like a tough guy kind of dude.
Mm-hmm.
But not to that extent. He doesn't start beef with random people. It's just if you fuck with him, he's willing to fight anybody. But he's also one of those extreme people that like doing crazy stuff. once and stuff like that. I remember he lost his 2 front teeth snowboarding. And I went over his house one day and he started talking to me and he's missing his 2 front teeth. I was like, what the fuck? Like, 'cause it wasn't missing the last time I saw him. I was like, what the fuck? What happened to your teeth, dude? He was like, oh yeah, I was snowboarding last week and he said he jumped off a rock and tried to do like a somersault or something and then landed right on his face.
Can you imagine if you'd have to start like an online dating profile with 2 missing teeth and being like 4'11"?
Yeah.
Whatever.
On top of that, yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. I remember he told me that like he was kind of in shock when he first got up because he banged his face really hard, and when he first got up, he was trying to look through the snow for his teeth. And I was like, "What were you gonna do with them when you found them?" He's like, "I don't know. It was just like my first thought was find my teeth." He's like, "You're not gonna find it in snow, right? You're not gonna find teeth in snow. That's impossible." But that's what he said he was doing. He said when people came over to like see if he was okay, he was in the middle of looking for his teeth and shit. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like obviously, afterwards he's thinking like, how unreasonable it was for him to do that. Like, what's the point of looking for his teeth? But yeah, I guess it's just when you have a strong injury like that, you don't think of it. You don't always think it's weird.
It sounds like something I've seen in a movie. Someone saving their teeth. It might not be medically accurate.
No.
I'm not sure.
Reattaching the teeth doesn't work.
I think only for vanity purposes.
You can get new teeth, but they're not teeth. Veneers and stuff. Yeah, those have to be bolted onto your skull. Teeth gums. I think another time he injured himself was he was rollerblading and stitching on a bus, which you're not supposed to do. It's dangerous, and that's exactly what happened. The bus did a short stop, and he was holding onto the grate of the exhaust in the back, and his hand slipped in all the way. So when he went to go pull it back out, it got jammed on the vent and it cut his hand open. And it went down to his nerves and bone and shit. He had to have it looked gross when I saw him. He had a cast, and then he had kind of like a cord going from his finger to his wrist to hold his hand in a certain way, to hold that finger in the same position for a while. He wasn't supposed to move it, because they had to reattach it. So it was weird to see this little cable coming out of his finger, going through his finger in a circle and then coming out and being attached to his wrist. Yeah, it was really fucking gross and weird, like cybernetic type shit. And then he had all these metal things on his forearm sticking in, like that. You ever seen those little metal cages they put around your arm, like when you break your arm and shit? Yeah, like all that stuff. Yeah, but it was all to reattach nerves and shit, because all these nerves have gotten severed. So either he was gonna lose feeling in his hand, or he had to deal with that for months, and having his hand like that for months. Which, yeah, it's worth it to have your hand like that for months to get feeling again. Hey, Freelance, what's up? So taxation is theft, Tiffany, go.
Oh, yes, I want to use the road. Thank you.
Yeah. I was talking to you about it before. I'll say it on the stream there, where it's I don't think that when people say taxation is theft, I don't think they think enough in the perspective of how we live in a democracy and these things have been voted, the people who put these. Sure, there's some corruption to a certain extent and some things we didn't vote for, but a lot of times we vote these people in who put in these policies. And we all kind of have to accept when we lose, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't vote for that and you voted for the other thing, the majority rules kind of is what democracy is. We kind of have to accept that. We kind of accept that as being American, and that's how our system runs. There's a lot of laws I don't like, but I don't go around breaking them. Some of them I do. One of the lighter, less enforced ones I do, but I don't go around breaking laws in my country because I don't like the law. Or at least if I do break it and I get caught for it and get in trouble, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna have to accept it and be like, I broke the law. I have to accept my punishment.
Yeah.
I knew what I was doing. But when a lot of people say taxation is theft, it's like, I think they're eliminating the concept that, you know, if you live in a country, you're accepting the laws of that country. You're not going to go to China and then not accept their laws and start breaking it. You know, like that would be ridiculous. And I wouldn't say that they're oppressing me because of it, because I chose to go there. So, I think that Roy brought up the concept that, well, what if you're born there? And I'm like, well, being born there is because your parents took that consented for you, because your parents basically consent for you until you're 18. So giving birth to you in a country, they're consenting that they're giving birth to a child that's going to have to follow the rules of that country and accept the rules of that country. Then when you turn 18, you're an adult, you can choose whatever you want. If you don't like the rules of the country, you do what you need to do to get away from it. And also, you're old enough to vote now, and now you can try to make a difference. If you want to change that rule, work at it. You can always try to get people to agree with you and change that rule. It's the thing I have with the whole Tommy Robinson going on right now. Yeah, it's a bit unfair, I think, but he did break a law. The problem I think a lot of people are having with it is that he broke a law that is often broken and isn't enforced. So I think that's the part that they're like, oh, they're trying to make an example of him, and that's not fair. But I think if you truly have a problem with that, instead of arguing and petitioning for them to let Tommy Robinson go, I think the thing you should be petitioning and arguing is to change the law. Because you don't want that to happen to anyone else. Just because they petition and they let Tommy Robinson go, that law is still there. It can still happen again. You know what I'm saying? He could still do something that they see as him breaking it again. You know, and it's like, oh, you're going right back to jail after they let him go. So really, the most important thing for you to do is to fight that law. I think the UK has the rule like us. Like, I think if you get like over 100,000 people to sign a petition, then here, like, Congress has to basically have a hearing for whatever you want to change or whatever you're petitioning. I think the same thing goes in UK, but I think with less people. But once you reach a certain number, then their parliament has to basically start a hearing for that, whatever you're petitioning. So that's what they should be doing, as opposed to trying to protest about Tommy Robinson going to jail and all that stuff. They should be gathering people to go to Parliament and try to change that law so that it doesn't happen again. If they don't like it, you know, why not change it? But they're not doing that. I remember the last time Tommy Robinson went to jail was this. We did a stream about that. People were really mad at us and started telling us that, oh, you guys are for rape gangs and this and that. And I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's retarded. But it's like people who just... It's a blind, one-sided thing that they see. They only see it like, oh, he's going to jail, that's it. But it's like, dude, this is a bigger picture thing. Like, him going to jail is small picture. You changing the law is big picture, you know? It's like, yeah, sure, maybe he gets to let go out of jail, but that problem is still there. You haven't changed the problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm hearing that he's trying to talk to Donald Trump to try to get, what do you call that? When people stay in your country to not get in trouble with the law in their country. Asylum. No, that's what there is an S in. But yeah, he's trying to get asylum in the U.S. He's talking about Trump, and I'm like, that's some bullshit. Like, you're fighting for something. Don't get, you know, do your time. Then when you've done your time, you can get out and fight again. But if you get asylum, you're never gonna stop fighting. You know, I mean, you're never gonna be able to fight again. You're stuck in another country. Go back to your home country, like ever. You know. It's like, dude, just do your time. Get out and continue to fight.
Oh, did you see what Freelance said? She said taxation isn't theft if it's spent on making where you live not be a shithole.
Who said what?
Freelance.
Uh-huh.
She was replying to your taxation and stuff comment. He basically is saying it's not theft if it's making where you live not a shithole.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. That's the argument I was having with people where it's like, well, they were saying, oh, well, if you force it on people, it's theft. And I'm like, it's not, technically it's not forced, because like I said, you're agreeing to the laws of the country you live in. If not, why are you living there? It doesn't make sense. If you're going to agree with the rules, find somewhere else where you do agree with the rules. It's kind of why I like the United States a lot, because we have state laws. And sometimes, yes, some states have laws I don't like. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I don't live in those states. If there's a law you don't like in your state, there's always a chance that you can find another law another state that doesn't have that law. But yeah, sometimes income tax I can understand people's, or at least in the States. I think she's from Australia, so she probably doesn't know, but we have an income tax, and that basically just pays for the Federal Reserve and stuff that I probably wouldn't want my taxes to go to. But state tax, I totally agree. State tax goes to all the stuff within our state: public school, roads, fire department, police. It's all good things that you want in your area. That if they went away, poor people wouldn't be able to afford. Right? Imagine the fire department wasn't socialized anymore, and now we have privatized fire department. What happens when someone's house is on fire and they can't afford it, and they can't afford the fire department? How do you deal with that? You just let their house burn and say fuck it, or they just get fucked for the rest of their life with a bill that's way too high, way too high for them. It's just kind of shitty. Same thing with police. If you can't afford police, what's going to happen? What happens in smaller towns, smaller ghetto towns where people are really poor? They're going to have worse police, right? Because what company's going to want to go there and they're not going to be able to charge people enough money. So they're going to have to charge people really low. So that means these cops are going to have low wages. They're going to have shit equipment. They're just not going to be able to deal with it. Corporations don't give a shit. They're not going to have a standard across the United States,
Yeah, I didn't hear, a good counterpoint to that when you were discussing that Roy guy.
Yeah, there's no good counterpoint to that. I had an argument one time in the Discord with somebody who was who wanted no more public school, and I was like, what? Like, how are you gonna deal with no more public school? Like, how does that work? And he was like, privatized schools would be higher standard. And then I was like, yeah, but what about poor people? Like, what are they gonna do? He was like, poor people, if they can't afford it, then they just don't go to school. And I'm like, that's stupid, because like we don't want a dumber nation, right? We don't want our citizens to be dumb because they can't afford it. Like, that's dumb. But it's like these people want. I understand. I agree with a meritocracy. You should merit things, but I don't agree that we should leave people behind who don't merit things. There should be at least a minimal standard. Which is why I think about public school. We have shitty standards for public school. I've gone from this city I live in now used to be super ghetto, and when I went to school here, it was far behind. I didn't know that when my parents got divorced and my mom got an apartment in a better town. I went there. They were like 2 years ahead, and I went to that school. I went to 7th grade, 8th grade, and then 3 years of high school there. And then I came back to this town, and that's when I realized how bad this city's education was. Because when I got here, halfway through junior year, they were still doing stuff in all the classes that were from freshman year I was doing in the other town. So I was like, oh shit, this sucks. So I think that we can't have a regular national standard, but we should have at least a minimal standard, what I'm saying, where some schools, at least a minimum, like if you're going to have, this public school has to be at this level, at least at a minimum. So, higher, obviously places with higher funds will have better education, but at least we know that the lowest of poor places will have at least a minimum. No, when I was...
Hello, folks.
Yeah, what's up, man? I'm streaming, just so you know. I remember when I was living in Georgia, they were talking about that, how bad the school systems were there, especially in the poor areas. And they were talking to a middle schooler, so he was either 7th or 8th grade, and they asked him to spell school. And he said, oh, skoo? Yeah, S-K-O-O, skoo. And I was like, wow, that's terrible, And this is just some random kid they asked come walking out of his school. And it's like, dude, you're in 8th grade, 7th grade, you should know how to spell school by that point, And it's like, and that's what it is. It's the standards there are really low because they have such.
I seen somewhere in Alabama they were doing those crosswalks for school, and the guy they hired to do that didn't know how to spell it and was spelling it S-K-O-O-L.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's all over the road everywhere in town.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That school is written on the signs. There says school crossing and on the road. And it's like, how do you not know how to spell it? It is also these kids just don't care and they don't want to learn, but I mean there should be a standard where if you don't know how to do these basic things by that level, then you don't graduate. You know what I'm saying? You don't move forward. But I know a lot of these schools, especially low-income places. I'll give you an example where here where I used to live, when I lived here before, I think it was like sixth grade. I had a kid that was 17 years old in my 6th grade class, and he had been left back 4 times, I guess. That age. But eventually, they just started graduating him because he wasn't passing, so they would just put him on to the next grade, and then he would fail that, and they'd move him to the next grade anyway. They'd just give him the minimum score and move him forward. And he would tell us this. He's like, oh, I skip school all the time. I haven't done one test and this and that. I never do my homework. And they're just giving me the minimum grade and passing me, you know. And that's what it is these people just are letting kids slide, not getting the education. And it's like, if you fail, they should be allowed to fail. That's it. You know, maybe go to a special school or something. For people who just
or special employment.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe give them a special trade school for people who can't just be educated, you know. Maybe they can learn a trade or something. But something's got to be done with those people. We can't just, you know, squeeze them through the system and pretend that they learned all these things they didn't learn.
Maybe they could be gangster rappers.
Yeah. Oh, that kid, that dude was pretty gangster. He was in house arrest that whole year, too. Because he kicked somebody through the Roy Rogers window.
There you go. He's already got his street cred.
Yeah. I used to hang out with him. He smoked. I was like,
It's always good to have a weed-smoking person.
Yeah. Especially when you're like 13 and he's 17, 16, 17. Oh, Devin in the chat. What you nerds doing? Is this the Alpha cast? This is the Peruvian cast. If you want to come on and chat, Devin, you're more than welcome. I was talking about Yang before, you missed it. Yang gang. Trying to spread the word. I'm waiting for the next debates. I might do a video on it, or if I feel inspired by that lady, maybe I'll do a video talking about the stuff I was talking about today.
Oh, I'm assuming our friend Roy has disappeared into the nether.
No, he's still been coming around. I haven't been talking to him.
Okay, yeah. He's cool if you talk to him about other things, but arguing with him is intolerable.
No, yeah, because he doesn't know how to argue this.
Well, you know what, too? I discovered, too, that he was pretty drunk the entire time we were talking to him. Yeah. Like, that he came to admit that, and I was like, aw, dude, because it started to remind me of, like, you know those drunk people you get into a discussion with, and you're just like, wait a second, this person's talking with themselves.
Yeah. That did seem like he was drunk or something. No, I was talking to people about it the other day, and I was saying, how many times did he bring up private property after I had said that? Like, after I had explained how private property would work, like, a million times, and he still kept bringing it up. And I was like, how many times do we have to go through this, dude? I already talked about private property. Like, fuck. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I have to go to my stove because for some reason I left all my lighters in my car, and I'm not intelligent for that reason.
Well, why don't you just go to your car? No, I don't think he stayed to hear that. Like, why don't you just go to your car? I think that would be a better solution. Yeah, well, lazy. I'm playing as Ness, my original favorite character.
I work like 12-hour shifts, so I'm in my boxers, and I'm like, fuck that, I'm not going out.
That makes sense.
Mm.
Oh, you gotta park outside, you don't have a garage.
Yeah, it's just the way she goes sometimes.
Alright, I don't have a car mainly. That's one of the big reasons, because there's nowhere to park here, and I don't have a garage.
No, I have one out of necessity. If I didn't live where I live, I'd probably not have a car.
Yeah, that's how for me. When I moved out of here, I got a car, and then when I moved back here, I was like, I don't need a car again. So I'm just gonna get rid of sell my car and never get one.
What part of the globe are you in?
New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah, I lived in Montreal for like the past 7 years. And then I had a really fucked up year where a lot of bad things happened to me. Long story short, my best friend died and I got arrested. Not related things.
I was gonna say, did you kill
And
him?
I was in a band for like a long time too. And that was like my thing. I had been working on that for like 8 years and that fell apart. And I also broke up with my girlfriend. And I spent a lot of money on drugs and partying, So now I ended up really broke and fucked up, and I'm back at my parents' house. But I got a good job now. That's the good thing, is I got like a job that pays like $30 an hour.
Yeah,
so
it's alright. Everybody fucks up at some point. As long as
yeah, it was a pretty big fucking downward spiral where like you only realize you're on it when you're like at the bottom.
Yep. At least you're doing what you need to do to fix that. That's good.
And not to keep talking about the automation thing, but like the job I'm doing right now is one of those kinds of trades jobs. It's basically like I work in a sawmill, and I'm not like to pat myself on the back or anything, but I do think I'm a bit too intelligent for this job. Like I'm pressing a button and making wood fall onto like a conveyor belt, and like sawing lumber and moving shit around.
Yeah.
It's basically like grunt work, you know. But it pays good. You know, these are these jobs for the people that aren't educated. These would be great jobs for them because I'm too smart. I don't want to do this. I'm going to quit like as soon as my debts are paid. Like.
But that's definitely one of those jobs that'll disappear in the next few decades.
Oh, for sure.
Automated.
There's no way to keep paying people to do this. Like, this is completely automated.
I saw a video today on Twitter that had an automated cook for a restaurant, and they showed.
Oh yeah, dude!
I
Oh, I love those things.
Yeah,
Did you
cool.
see the ads for the ones you're gonna be able to install in your home?
Nah, I didn't see the home ones. That's cool.
Oh, yo, they're gonna integrate it with the food delivery service that'll be having what is the idea? The concept that was shown, it was like a proof of concept, like digital thing, where they would have drones fly the food to your house, and they could potentially have it hooked so your fridge has like a hatch to the outside, so they put the food in your fridge for you, and then the robot can reach the fridge from the inside, and it's got like 6 arms, and it's like mixing shit and cutting shit up and checking the freshness of food, looking for bacteria because it can see UV light.
Yeah, if you remember that argument I was having with Roy, he was kind of seeing it as being utopian. He was saying that everything would be automated, and I'm like, eventually it will. Like, I mean, if we're looking ahead far enough, everything that can be physically done by a human being will eventually be automated. You know?
And let's say your discussion, let's say Roy's super right, and that only happens in 2,000 years.
Yeah.
Well, it still doesn't prevent us from talking about it now. And let's be honest with ourselves. Like, I had an interesting discussion when I was like 13. I'm 27, by the way, with my great grandmother, who had actually lived like at a time when in her teenage years there was like horse and buggy shit. And I was like, we were just like getting the internet like as a thing now, and I was talking to her about this stuff, and she's like, I can't believe I was born when I was born. Like, things have changed so much. I don't live in the same world anymore.
No, if you look at the last 100 years, it's been an incredible amount of change. Technology just exponentially grows faster and faster as we go. We discover one thing, and that just boosts the speed of innovation really fast. It's insane.
Well, you can't innovate. You can't innovate Roy. That can't be done.
No. So yeah, for people to think that at some point we aren't gonna, every physical activity will be eventually automated, I think that's very short-sighted.
I think something I would rather discuss about that, or because you know I dabble in all sorts of speakers and stuff like that. I'm not just a dev cuck, if you want to call me that, you know. Which it's an honor. Peterson talks a lot about the effect on your psychology. Of that, like that's gonna like have some serious effects on people's psychology when it comes to looking for purpose, which is why I had jokingly thrown into the argument the other day. I was like, look, it's just gonna be an art-based economy.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't it be?
That's true, but
why
everybody
wouldn't
has
that
the
be
talent for
valuable?
that. That's why I say at some point we're gonna have to think of a new system. Like capitalism's not gonna work for us anymore. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not anti-capitalist. I think capitalism did a great job, and it's continuing to do a great job.
If anything,
but there's gonna be a point where it becomes obsolete, and we're gonna continue.
It would definitely be the thing that would drive you to your next location.
Yeah.
If you metaphor it as a car.
Capitalism's done some great shit for our advancement.
Like other systems right now have been basically like bicycle or like barefoot walking in the desert with no food, you know.
Yeah.
by comparison on that scale. And I think the next vehicle that we would be getting into economically would be like a rocket ship. Like that's what the automation is, you know.
Well, there are corporations already looking at mining asteroids and shit. So that's going to be like the next big thing, probably, that's going to boost our sales, which is another reason why UBI will be good and VAT tax, because innovations are going to start skyrocketing after that. And you know, if we got companies like Google and Amazon not paying any taxes, those companies will not be paying taxes either. So we're gonna
what a move, eh?
Yeah.
What a boss move by Amazon.
Yeah, it's crazy. Amazon and Google, they both paid zero taxes last year.
Strange thing, I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember being in a discussion with someone online on YouTube about how, because we all know how YouTube's being, it's not just being this way with the Roo, it's being this way with all of its users.
Yeah.
And apparently they've been taking like a 200 million per month hit.
Yeah, YouTube's been taking a hit since Google bought them. It's never really.
That's huge. Can you imagine there's someone out there willing to drop that kind of coin to like make a point?
Yeah, it's
like
Marvel's doing that. Marvel Comics won't drop their SJW-ness, and
that's crazy.
Their comics are dropping to levels that they've never been at before. Like
that's insane to me. Like, let's say like I hated someone really badly, and I have a few people that have done me wrong. Don't get me wrong, like, and I mean done me wrong in a way morally and ethically that I oppose on every level. And I don't know that I would spend much more than like maybe $100 a month to screw them over. That's being generous, you know. I'd rather just like get over it, you know. These people cannot get over it.
Yeah,
they are like on a hell-bent mission. This is crazy.
If you look at Marvel Comics sales 10 years ago, their top-selling comics would break like 100,000 copies, and now now their top-selling comics barely break over 10,000 copies. It's insane. And they will continue to do this.
That is just too woke for me.
Yeah, it's really crazy. You can really look it up and find out like these comics that would normally get cancelled if they drop below 10,000 are selling like 6,000, 7,000 are being kept alive, and they just keep making more issues of them than they're fine. And lots of small comic book stores have had to close because Marvel's the #1 seller. You know? So if people aren't coming in buying Marvel comics, they're not making money. And on top of that, Marvel's pushing it on these companies and saying, we're not going to send you any comics unless you buy 10,000 copies of this comic and, you know, or 20,000 copies of this comic.
Gross.
So at the end, these comic book stores were just giving these comics away because they couldn't sell them. They would just leave stacks of them on the front counter and just say, here, take it. You know, you can't sell them.
You know you're a crap peddler when
you're forcing people to sell your shit. Really bullshit tactics. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't think it's Disney, even though Disney owns them, because Disney tends to they're not doing this with Star Wars, but with Marvel, they tend to just let them do their own thing. Like with the movies, they left Kevin Feige in charge, right? They don't really put their fingers into the movies. And the same thing with the comics, they just kind of say, you know, here, run the comics, but I think someone got put in charge that wants that.
Yo, if you check out the memes chat, or the memes text channel, I posted something that isn't too far from how they're going to try to avoid discriminating next.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the middle of playing a game set.
Oh, okay.
I got Smash Bros. I'm playing Smash Bros. In the background of the stream while I check.
Well, it's just as funny verbally. It's a Tyrannosaurus Rex on top of the background of Bambi, and it says Walt Disney, Bambi. And it's a very real-looking T-Rex, you know, and it's in order to stop species discrimination. You know, they've cast a T-Rex in the next live remake because
it's a Lion King starring a T-Rex as. Why is the lion gotta be the king of the jungle? That's oppressive. How about we make Simba played by a gazelle? So we're not oppressing the gazelles anymore.
Because the gazelles was Kangs.
Yeah, gazelles was Kangs until the lions colonized them. But if you look back, I was trying to. I had a conversation with somebody on Twitter about it because he was talking about how they don't make original characters for people of color, right? Disney. And I'm like, yeah, that's people of color love it when we get race swapped, but they don't argue. They don't realize they're just being tokenized. Like, you know, they're just being like, yeah, here's a white character with white history. Let's just swap the race. And it's like, what you should be doing is asking for things that, you know, represent your culture. You're just getting your color put onto a different culture. Like, that doesn't work well. And somebody brought up the Princess and the Frog. They were like, oh, about the Princess and the Frog, that was original. I was like, no, it wasn't. That was based on a book with a white person on the cover, and the princess was white in the book. You just swap the color too. So literally thinking about it, Disney has no original people of color like stories.
It's mind-blowing that they're okay with that. I had a huge argument with what I believe to be one of my last far left friends on my Facebook. Maybe about like 2 or 3 years ago, I started busting out like, you know, pretty hard center stuff. Not even really right wing. I wouldn't say that I'm that, but you know how the scale has tipped. You know, what's left is now like far right, and what's far left is okay to be. And I had lost about 11 friends. They were all from Montreal, obviously. Slowly over some of my posts, and I have one that's left, and me and her argue all the time. And the other day, right after Devin posted his video about the race swap in that the Little Mermaid, she had actually posted a link to his video insulting him without having watched the video, and without knowing that I watched his stuff, and without knowing that I had become a patron the day before. Nice. So I got into a huge argument with her on Facebook, and I'm like, dude, it's more racist to do this than to not do this. Yeah. This is the most racist shit I've ever seen.
I don't know about racist, but I would say
black people their own movie. Like, why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah, I would call it insulting.
Opportunity.
Just like people say how they infantilize people of color. That's what I see it as. It's like, oh, let's save them by just swapping a black person into this character. You know? Yeah, it's just satiation.
Wants his toy here. Let your brother play with this toy now. Kind of shit like that. You know, like.
Yeah, it's straight pandering and in the simplest form, but people don't even realize that's what's happening.
Yeah. One of the things she said in our argument was, I don't know what's happened to you over the last couple of years, Robert, but you used to be such a positive person, and now all you do is bring negativity to my Facebook feed.
Yeah, I stopped using Facebook because of that, because people are just so regressive on Facebook.
I'm just like doing the fight against the dying of the light. It's not that I'm arguing with them, it's that I know other people see our discussions, and then because I'm creaming her so badly, people are taking my side but not stepping in. Every once in a while I'll get a couple of her friends that are like, well, he kind of has a point here, you know.
Yeah, there you go. Little by little.
It's not so much I'm ever going to convince her, it's how stupid she can look in front of other people that's the point, you know?
Yeah. But it's difficult. A lot of people who think a certain way, it's hard for them to change their minds.
Nah, she's just lost, yeah. It's like, she's 44. So
oh, yeah, even more. The older you get, the harder it is for you to change.
It's not happening, you know? It's funny too because she's 44 and I liken her very much to like my 17-year-old self. Like the way I used to see it. Like as I said, I used to be a young Turks watcher, so.
Yeah, I think everybody was. There was a point where they weren't bad. They were showing the left side of things, but then they went more and more left as well, and then they started race baiting and all that bullshit. They just kept getting worse.
So did Devin's new video get him another strike?
Yeah, he got another strike. He's been posting on other channels. He can't post on this.
Oh god, like because that was like full on Vagoo.
Yeah, it's bullshit. He tried to
But,
appeal it, it didn't work, so we've
the
been all
irony
tweeting it.
is showing it like in the context that it's a video of another video that's up on YouTube and is on strike. That's like so many layers of like.
But it's not even that. If you read their rules on it, it doesn't violate their rules. Their rules are...
It does on top of that too. So it's like it's 3 layers of hypocrisy, like into a hypocrisy sandwich, and you just know there's someone at YouTube that personally doesn't like him.
Yeah, it's all dependent on who you get. It's that he's had luck with it before, where he's gotten that channel back twice after it was completely terminated. But
okay.
Yeah, it's been 2 times he got it back. So I mean, it's all on who looks at it, you know. Sometimes he appeals things and he gets it back. Sometimes he does and it doesn't. And it's like, yeah, I personally think it's up to whoever looks at it. You might get the bad luck of getting the person who's super aggressive, or you know, you might get one person that works there who's not.
I have a fear that they're culling the herd amongst their employees. Like they're, you know, you've got a few of them that are held out, that are like me and you that are working there, and they're pretending to be regressive, but they're just letting shit pass.
Yeah, maybe that would be cool.
I had seen a video. I wish I could find the link. I'll look for it. There was a video. Someone I did a couple of interviews with 2 people who worked as Facebook censors, basically. At a place that like they have 20,000 people working. Like it's crazy how many people they've got working in these big giant centers, you know, to censor Facebook and to monitor information. And also, what a huge salary like to dole out by Facebook, you know, just to do that. And these people were very left before, and they got red pilled by censoring things, and eventually started to let stuff go, even though they were supposed to take it down. And just kept collecting their paychecks until they both got fired.
But RB says, hey, Alf, Disney does have an original POC life story. It's called Song of the South. I don't know if you know that, but that was a very racist movie that they've eventually...
I do remember it, yeah.
With zippity-doo-dah, zippity-doo.
Yeah, they need to bring it back. You know, they need a live action.
The one time they made an original story for people of color, and it ended up being super racist. But even the one story that takes place in Africa, Lion King, they stole that from a Japanese manga. So it's like an anime. So it's like they didn't even get original with that.
Oh well, at least I would say the execution is pretty good.
Yeah,
you know.
But then they didn't even give credit to the original story either.
Yeah, well, that's how you really seal the deal, right?
So it's like, yeah, not only did they do
a corporation without stealing ideas,
so they can't even use that to say, yeah, we made an original story for Africans. It's Lion King. It's like, one, they're animals, they're not people, and two, you stole that from a Japanese story and didn't even give them credit for it. I remember watching an interview of Matthew Broderick saying that when he first read the script, he was like, oh, cool, we're doing an adaptation of Kimba the White Lion. And the whole time he was filming it, he thought it was an adaptation of it. Until, like, it was released and they found out they didn't give any credit. And he was like, wait, this wasn't an adaptation of that? But I've seen people do comparisons where some of the scenes are straight off that movie. Like, it's almost exact from the anime. Certain scenes,
oh god!
Parts of the story, some of the scenes are like the part where he sees his father in the clouds. That's straight up from Kimba the White Lion. They've seen from the exact same angle too. It's not like they even tried to do it from a different angle. And it doesn't even bother me what Disney does. I don't even want representation. I don't even care about that shit. But it's the point that these people will applaud Disney just swapping a character out and thinking that that's a win for them. And it's like, no, they're playing you. That's you getting played for money because they want money from you. They're just playing you out, and you don't even notice. You think they're doing a good thing. It's like, no, it's a scam.
It's like the bank supporting Pride Parade. It's like, dude, you're a bank. Like, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You would. Like, yeah. Why would we assume that a bank wouldn't service gay people. You know, like I don't think that ever happens.
Your money's not good here. He's got
understand.
gay money. Yeah. I don't want to get cooties. I'm not touching that.
Yeah, exactly. I think we understand the concept that banks will take money from anyone, regardless who they are.
Yeah, they're down. They're down to take your money.
Yeah, it's strange. SJWs are weird people.
Yeah. Might have to switch back to Incineroar.
Incineroar.
This should be interesting. You ever watch the channel Mr. Reagan?
No.
He does some pretty interesting political videos.
Let's see. Billy made a video about 5 atheist heavy metal songs. And he got a comment saying, "Your obsession with godlessness ironically resembles a religious or cult-like mentality. It's kind of funny to me as well as sad. It just goes to show that human beings will never free ourselves from dumb shit like religious behavior." Why is it religious behavior to talk about atheism? I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And if you want to talk about obsession, religious people, the only reason people ever even talk about atheism is because of people talking about religious things and trying to make changes to religion.
Yeah, if everyone started to become atheist, I've had this discussion with my girlfriend.
Why would we ever talk about atheism if there was no religion?
We would never talk about the thing. It's the thing of no thing.
Yeah, exactly. I get that a lot. People always, who was I arguing with? That fucking retard YouTuber. What's his name? Naked Ape or something. But he was saying the same thing. I was arguing with him. He was like, "Oh, from your religion of atheism," and I was like, "What? Like, how does that make any sense? Like, what religion? What tenets do atheism have? Except we don't believe in God. What are our tenets? Right? What are our commandments? None."
There was, I think there's a joke that a native person told me. I live around a lot of Native Americans in the area here. And also, what a great group for laughing at themselves. They, love native jokes.
Yeah,
They're
really?
all down. The more offensive, the better. It's so funny. They're a group of depressed people that are so down with it that it's almost like, dude, I feel, uncomfortable saying these things around you.
They're like, "No, it's alright."
No, it's good. Tell us your worst ones. And then they're laughing harder than you. You're like, geez. But, what was the joke about atheism that she had told me? It was like, when the white man showed up, they brought religion with them, and they told us that we needed to convert to Christianity, or else we would go to hell. And then our chief at the time asked them and said, "Well, your God's a fair God. He wouldn't send us to hell if we didn't know, right?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, totally. Fair God. I mean, you were all good, but now you need to, believe." And he's like, "Well, then why did you tell us? You've doomed us all."
Yeah, now you doomed us all, because now I might not believe it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions when I was a kid that made me think of, because, my mom's Peruvian, so I would always think about when the Spaniards came and brought Christianity to them. So I was thinking about all the Incans before that. And it's like, well, do all those Incans go to hell then? Because if you don't believe in God, you go to hell. So it's like there's a whole civilization of people that lived centuries upon centuries without even knowing what God was. It's like, so how does that work? And I was thinking, do all those people go to hell? I don't understand.
What an absolute ripoff.
Yeah, and then if they didn't go to hell, then why would you tell people about God, like you said? It's just started up way too many questions for me that I started being like, this sounds like complete bullshit.
Yeah, I had a pretty abrupt end for me being, if you want to call it Christian. I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and finally my grandfather had told me, he's like, "Here's the deal." And this is my grandfather on my dad's side. My grandfather on my mom's side is a whole, full-on, full-blown believer there. But on my dad's side, he's more of a, drinker and boozer and partier. And he flat out told me, he was like, the church in your town where you live, they've had, many priests molesting little boys. And I don't think it's a good idea for you to go to church anymore because the priest might touch you in your private parts. And I was like, what are you saying? He's like, yeah, God's not real. I'm like, what?
Okay.
It's like, Jesus Christ. Pump the brakes for a second here. This is a bit shocking, you know? Like, I was praying before I went to bed and shit, you know? And, yeah, luckily he told me that, and I believed him. So...
Oh, the first thing that started me down it was when I found out my parents were lying to me about Santa Claus. That was the first.
Yeah, no, for some reason I didn't.
That was my
pick
first
up.
start of like questioning things that my parents were telling me. So I was like, wait,
No,
they lied to me
never,
about that.
never
What else
questioned
they gonna lie?
that one. For some reason, I guess I was a bit slow on that.
Yeah.
It all depends who you're around.
Yeah, I had a big brother, so my big brother spilled the beans to me, like, yeah, Santa Claus is real, when I was like 6.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I was like, well, my brother's telling me it's not real. My parents keep telling me it's real. I was like, something's going on here. And I realized that my parents are probably lying to me about certain things. Everything that sounded weird to me, I'd start questioning it. Like, this doesn't sound right. But I mean, I still was Catholic till like I was a teenager and stuff. That's when I really started believing it. But I mean, I was questioning it the whole time. Yeah, but around 13, 14, that's when I was really ready to just be like, alright, yeah, I don't know that shit. Ah, fuck, I just killed myself. My stupid rate. Oh, I'm still alive. I still have a life left. But that was the last one. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, that was dumb. Stay alive! Ooh, time ran out right before I died. That was perfect. But is it over? Ah, it's over. Oh, we won. Alright, let me play like 1 or 2 more games and then I'll probably end the stream. Dang, it's getting real humid. It's been raining all day.
Same here.
Or you're in Canada.
Yeah.
Canada.
In like the northern part, too.
Oh, the cold places.
Yeah, the cold place. Yes,
Move
yes.
south.
Yeah. Oh, I will at some point. This is where my parents live, and they have a giant house, and they're not often in it, which is great because I make music, so I can be very loud, and we don't have neighbors too. That's also great.
What kind of music do you make?
Electronic music actually, like kind of like tech house, techno music. Hence the name.
Techno house.
Well, yeah. Well, my screen name is Techno at the Disco.
You should have been around in New York City in the 90s.
Yes. You know, I feel like I've missed so many great things. But then I'm like, no, I'm gonna make great things there. Then I won't miss them because I'm making them there. Supply and demand. There's a demand, I'm sure.
Nice ball. Yeah, I was talking to Tiffany before. They just opened up like an esports place. Really. I don't know what the competitions are like, but I want to look into it and see if they have Smash Brothers. Might see if I try to compete or something. I'm getting really good at this. I've always been pretty good at it, but I'm getting good with like new characters and stuff. I haven't played Smash Brothers since like 2001.
Mm.
Try to get in there and see if I could do anything. Might be worthwhile. I keep forgetting to look into it, though. I see it on my way to work all the time. I think they call it, like, hybrid esports or something like that. Gotta check it out. Well, let's see. I talked about Yang. Talked about standardization for public schools and stuff. What else can we talk about? Yeah, I'm big on Yang. I really want him to do good. It's so hard to like predict whether he'll make it to the primaries or not. But I think he's getting a lot of exposure. He's doing a good job with that. And I think, yeah, if he doesn't make it this time, it'll be good exposure for him for the next one. But I think the big problem is a lot of people are confused as to how the UBI is gonna go, and I think that a lot of people just, you know how people are. There's anything that's free, it's like, oh, it's socialist, blah blah blah, socialism, and it's like, oh, come on, dude. Like, just look into it and see if you think it's beneficial or not. Don't think about it in terms of
the difference between communism. Socialism if machines are doing the work and socialism if people are doing the work is incredibly different.
Yeah, that's true. Those are two totally
like that you can't even fucking compare the two. They're not the same thing.
No.
You know, it's just like, you know, it's like the difference between I'm assuming you're straight for this joke. It's the difference between a threesome where there's two chicks with you or a threesome where there's a chick and a dude with you.
Yeah, those
it's
are
like,
totally
they're not really the same, you know?
Yeah. Like saying
you
threesome can go
might
either
be
way.
getting a little bit of something you don't want in one of those two things.
Exactly.
You know, they're both threesomes technically. You know, you're part of the club that's pulled it off, but, you know...
And I see the argument sometimes is like, oh, you're just giving people free things, but what's... The problem, I like to ask people questions in arguments. If you remember my argument with Roy, was I gave him the question of what's wrong if everybody got a piece of something we all can all have a piece of it. Then what would be wrong with all of us just having a piece of it? And he never really gave me a straight answer. And that's why I like to ask questions, because that's how you know how well people know what they're arguing.
That's where I made the joke when he was telling his little anecdote. I don't know if you were there for that. For that Nigerian that wanted to kill all white people or something. And I had said, well, what do we do about that guy? Does he get UBI, or do we reserve the right to cut it off? You know, for the absolutely bad shit, not going to do anything good with the money we give them people. Yeah. You know, how do you determine that? I mean, we already have some sort of law and order that determines something like that.
It's for citizens.
But it's not really accurate, you know?
Yeah. But it's for citizens, so they would get it too. It's just, if they went to jail, it's cut off while they're in jail, but once they do their time for the crime they did, they'll come out and get it again.
Exactly, right? So, like...
Which is good too, because I'll tell you what, if you have a felony on your record, it's very hard to get a job. You know? So that might... I know some people are just going to commit crimes and go back to jail, but for the few people who did learn their lessons, that might be a big help for them, you know, and helping them back to reintegrate into society after. You know?
Well, that's why when I almost went to jail for my absolute bullshit crime that wasn't really a crime, I ended up spending like $20,000 on a lawyer to make sure that I ended up with nothing at all. And he was successful, thankfully.
Well,
I was looking at like the most insane shit ever. Like fucking kidnapping with like weapons, conspiracy to commit a crime, aggravated assault, with bodily injury, like a full fucking, like, every fucking thing you could think of.
That's a problem I have with a lot of right-wing people, is they're willing to let people be doomed for the rest of their life for a mistake, you know, and I think people should have chances. Man. Just like, you know, when you talk about teen pregnancy or something, you know, and you're like, you know, we should have abortions.
And they're like, well, you shouldn't have had sex.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have had sex, but it's like, yeah, it's a 14-year-old kid. 14-year-old kids are not responsible people. Like, you know, they make mistakes, and they shouldn't be damned for their entire lives because they made a mistake, you know. We can give them some leeway, you know.
I would think so. I would think so. Yeah, that's just... Yeah, it's...
And that's how I feel about people who commit crimes. Yeah, they're criminals, but if they do their time and they paid the price for it and they get out, they should be given a second chance, you know? Like we said, some of them, maybe a good amount of them are going to end up being criminals again, but we can't damn the few that will actually change, and be rehabilitated and want to integrate back in. We have to give those guys a chance.
Well, yeah, geez, yeah. The long story short on what happened to me was that after my best friend died in my apartment, he overdosed on drugs because that just happens, which is a shock because you never think it could happen, and then it does.
Yeah. I have a friend that died from heroin overdose when I was 22.
And that was just shocking. So then, after going through the death rows of emotions on that, a couple months later, I was like not doing well financially. We had been splitting the rent, right? Roommate, and his room was empty. So I was like, okay, I got to do something about this. So we had 3 rooms: one for my sister, one for me, and one empty one. I was living with my sister in Montreal, as well, and just to make the rent, we're like, we got to get an extra person. So I was contemplating, like, really thinking about this, but she met this dude at a party, right? And she somehow trusted this guy that it would be a great idea for him to move in. And I was really skeptical, and I was like, this doesn't, like, I don't know this guy, like, I don't like it. And I said no multiple times, and she's like, well, he really needs a place, like, his parents are kicking him out of his place. And I'm like, oh my god, that's not a good sign, like, there must be a reason, right? But I was pretty desperate financially, so I was like, finally, I agreed to it. And this guy moves in, and he seems normal and everything. Turns out he's a fucking weirdo, and he was like stealing her clothes out of her room, like sniffing her shit. And like, we discovered this because a bunch of stuff went missing, right? And then when we went and looked in his room, we found it hidden. So her boyfriend freaks out. Like, she didn't live with her boyfriend. He lived across town. And he's a pretty bad dude. Her boyfriend is like involved with some pretty serious people. And so they decided to come over to my apartment and confront him in my apartment while I was there after he got off work. And as you know, this did not go well. They came over and they beat the shit out of him in my apartment. And I didn't really do much to stop it because I was like, fuck this guy, Let me
tell you, that shit's really bad around here because New Jersey's like, we have lots of tenant laws that screw over landlords. I mean, we have, there's always two sides to every story. So there's shitty landlords, but there's shitty tenants too, But New Jersey tends to have laws that don't help landlords and mostly help tenants. So me being a landlord, right, I get fucked over and shit. But yeah, if that happened here,
the situation we were in, because we thought of calling the cops, but then we would have to go through the
court
legal
system,
proceedings to get him removed from the apartment. And at this point, that's when her boyfriend snapped, and he was like, "Fuck this guy! We're gonna make him afraid to ever come back." And rightly so, because after they kicked the shit out of him, they didn't break any of his bones. They could have, let's say. It came close. They were pretty angry, This is like well over the line for someone. We were not even charging rent at the time. We were giving him a chance. Like, we were letting him eat our food and stay at our place with the hope that his new job he got gave him a paycheck so he could back pay us for rent. Like, we were giving him a huge break. And then he fucking is a fucking perverted freak. And he thinks this is funny. He was like laughing. And they came over to confront him about it, and he was like, "What are you going to do?" Like, thinking like he was completely untouchable. Like,
famous last words, right? What, are you gonna stab me?
You
ever heard that 911 call? There's a 911 call. So it's like, "What, are you gonna stab me?" And then you hear, "Oh!" That's a funny one.
Well, it was basically that happened. And look, I didn't lay a hand on him, but I didn't stop it, right? I was like, fuck you. And then they dragged him out into the street, and we had already bagged up all of his shit, so it's really easy to toss him to the curb, like literally like in the movies, like, one hand on the back of his belt loop and one hand on the back of his shirt, and throw him out onto the curb, like the classic throw out. And then all of his stuff thrown onto the lawn behind him, right? And we did him the service of calling him a cab, so he could pick himself up and get into the cab and leave. And we weren't paying for the cab, but we didn't care where he was going. Just get out of here.
Yeah, you got.
And so he got into the cab. He called the cops as soon as he got into the cab, and he said we had weapons.
Huh.
And because I have like a stupid fucking sword on the wall in my room, and so this whole obviously show up, like we're talking like 12 cop cars. Like I don't know what he said on the phone, but like he obviously made it that we were like some gang members or something. And so like SWAT team busts in.
Oh fuck.
And fucking arrests us all. And like, dude, like I've never had a gun pointed at me in my life. Like, like I live in Canada. You have to understand how unlikely that is. You know, like. Yeah. Yeah. That was like the lowest of my spiral at that point. That was just great. Oh, and my grandmother died that month too.
Nah, fuck. Yeah, I've been talking to people lately who've been having troubles. They keep piling up, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it tends to happen. One thing goes wrong, and then it piles on for a little bit. But eventually it gets better, and then, you know, until the next pile on, you know?
Yeah, it's like pushing out a big fat turd.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm gonna end the stream. Thanks everybody for watching. And thanks for talking with me while I was streaming.
Yeah, it's all good, it's all good.
See you guys next time.
Yeah, peace.